Stephen here, and welcome to episode 5 of the Essence of Coding course. Here, we're going to talk about slightly more complicated expressions called nested expressions, where here's a simple expression, but instead of having a value here, you can have a new expression. So for example, I can take this and stick it in here. I'll delete all the values for just a moment so you can see the structure. So here's a larger expression with a sub-expression inside of it. You can have a sub-expression in both slots, and now you actually have 4 slots where you could either have values or sub-expressions. You could just keep on adding sub-expressions inside forever if you wanted to. I won't, because it is going to get really long, but I just want to make the point that you can have these nested expressions. And I'll plug in some values here. So let's say 6 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. So this is a larger expression that can also be assigned to a variable. So let's make 3 vocabulary cards using what we just learned. The first card I want you to make is a vocab card for this word nested expression. In fact, you'll notice that this idea of nesting comes up a lot in computer science. It's a very important broad concept. But just make one for nested expression, where nested expression is the answer and picture of this is the front. So front of the card, back of the card, front, back. And go ahead on the back, also say sub-expression, because that's the other word for this, sub-expression, where the sub-expression is actually the one inside, the one that's been nested. It's this smaller expression right here. And make an execution card for this whole line. Execution card. Let's actually look at what the answer would be. Let's talk about this in the way the computer would think about it. So the computer comes to this line, it says, all right, I'm going to execute this line. It then says, is there anything inside this line I should execute first? The answer is yes. It sees that there's an expression. And then it says, well, is it a regular expression or does it have some sub-expressions? Basically, is it a nested expression? And the answer is yes, it does have sub-expressions. So now, instead of executing this whole expression, it first says, all right, let me execute the sub-expressions. So it's got 2 sub-expressions to execute. 2 plus 2 is one of them, so it evaluates that expression, evaluates the expression to 4, so it thinks of this now not as 2 plus 2, but as 4. And then it does this sub-expression, 6 plus 4, and that is 10. So it thinks of this not as 6 plus 4 anymore, but as 10. And so now it has a regular expression, no nesting, just 10 plus 4, and so it evaluates that whole thing, that is 14. And so now it thinks of this whole expression not as a big nested expression, but just as the simple number 14. And now that it has crunched it down or evaluated it to a simple value, 14, it can finish executing the entire line, set x to 14. And so that's where you would draw your t-chart. X is the variable, and 14 is the value that gets stored into that variable. So it's very important that you understand that when the computer executes one line, it actually does quite a bit of work. It will evaluate expressions, it'll evaluate nested expressions in order to evaluate the whole expression, and then once it's done evaluating everything it needs to evaluate, then it stores the value into the variable. So make an execution card for this line of code.